Hi, if David Cameron wants bankers' bonuses to be linked to success, why did he allow RBS, a failing bank, to be paid bonuses of £785 million?
Well, I just don't think that these people learn, do they? Because it's just obscene. I mean, this is a bank where the loss has doubled this year, but the bonus has doubled. It looks completely and utterly wrong. It's a bank with 2 million losses this year. And this is on the same day when public sector pay has been frozen across the country. So the people who are going to... And the people whose pay is going to be frozen is your lollipop lady, your dinner lady, your street cleaner. Quite frankly, I'd like to see this 800 million bonus ploughed back into the economy because, let's be frank, we own 82% of the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Just before
Is it time for the UK to lead the international community in providing military assistance for the Syrian freedom fighters?
Well, I think we first should start by offering our condolences to the family of Mary Colvin. I think that's the first thing that we should say. I think dealing with Syria will be very difficult for two reasons. Firstly, we have the obstacle of Russia and China in the UN Security Council, but let's not forget Assad has a standing army of 250,000 of highly trained, loyal soldiers. And look, we can't go around being the world's policeman all the time. We've got defence cuts at the moment. We've got defence cuts at the moment, and we could have a problem in the Falklands, which is coming up, which I would argue, for British interest, is more important. However, there is a serious problem out there, but I think we better be careful about what comes next. Because, look, is Libya necessarily a better place now than it was under Gaddafi? We've got human rights abuses right across the board. Is Iraq necessarily a safer place? Is Egypt, with the Christian community, being persecuted? I think we should think very hard before we embark on any action, and I, for one, don't want to see one drop of British soldiers' blood spilt in Syria.
There is more than one group that is standing up to Assad, but anybody but Assad should get our help. If we don't want to spill British blood or European blood or whatever, okay, let's go in and give them arms. They have several times, just as they did in Libya, they have asked us to go in. Nobody in Iraq.
But look what's happened in Mogadishu. Look what happened in Mogadishu, where everyone had so many arms. You could go into a market in Mogadishu and you could find a basket of rice, and for the same price, you could find a basket of bullets. You know, and you leave these arms, and then what happens as the decades go on? You know, you undermine a society and you allow violence to get in, and you arm everyone to the teeth, and then what do? Who is ever going to hand those weapons back? You know, we cannot undermine Syria like this.
All right, do you want the last word?
I don't think it's undermining, I think it's supporting. And I think we know who's evil there, and we know who we don't want to help.
Very briefly, Paul.
Do we know who's evil and who's not? This is the problem. We've done this in Libya, we've made this mistake before, we've gone in, we've armed these rebels, they've overthrown Gaddafi, and now we find out that actually there's 140 tribes in Libya, all with scores to settle, all armed to the teeth. There's human rights abuses right across the board, and if we're not careful, we could possibly end up with an Islamic fundamentalist state 250 miles off the coast of
Syria. The human rights abuse under Assad has been...
All right, one at a time.
I'd like to know what you think about, do unpaid work placements for unemployed 16 to 24-year-olds help them into the workplace, or are they just a modern form of slavery?
Slavery or a help into the workplace. These are the people who've been working for Tesco's, for instance, and other big companies on no pay for 8 weeks, and they just get their benefits. Is it slavery, or is it, or what is it? Paul Nuttall.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say about this is that actually it's voluntary. So it's not slavery. And hundreds of kids, as a result of this, have got jobs. We've got 22% youth unemployment in this country. We're bringing up a generation of kids who actually don't know what it means to go out to work and probably stay at home and play on their Xbox all day. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I used to work with youth unemployment, and I think it's an opportunity for them to be punctual, to be reliable, to learn work skills, and then to go on and go into full-time unemployment. Because what we've really got to do is to get our own workforce back working again. And the hotel which I'm staying in London at the moment, I couldn't believe that the staff, all of the waitresses, one was Congolese, one was Latvian, one was Polish and one was Estonian. We need to get our own young people back into work, and I think that this is a good move in that direction.
Well, the difficult thing used to be to get into a company. Once you got your foot in the door, you worked your way up. And it might have been a very greasy pole, but somehow or other you managed to do that. And I think that anything that's going to help young people to get that first step, which is the difficult bit when they don't already have any experience, the situation may not be ideal, but at least it could be a start in getting into the workplace.
Absolutely.
The gentleman on the end said that there were...
Paul Nuttall.
Thank you very much. Said that there were 4 non-UK people in the hotel where you were staying.
Yeah.
Why do you think there were no English people that were in those positions? In my experience, they work a lot harder, they work longer hours, they want to be there, and they're a lot more grateful for it. And across my business interests, I employ over 200 people.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and this is why this scheme is so important, because we do seem to have lost that work ethic in this country, and this is an opportunity to actually instill that work ethic. You know, it all boils down to this in the end. Do we really want our youngsters out learning skills, being punctual, going into work, becoming responsible, or do we want them sitting at home doing nothing? I think it's quite clear what the answer is, and that's why businesses right across this country are taking on Eastern Europeans and not our own, and that has to stop, and I think that this scheme is a step in the right direction towards it.
Yes.
Can I come back on that
Yes,
one?
come back on it
the reverse is also true, to answer this lady's question.
Christina
Christina,
O'Donnell,
thank you so much.
It's all right.
Is that
Ed
I do struggle. I've also taken on 4 graduates without any experience at all.
Well, you're very unusual.
And they've gone straight into middle management, and they're doing a fabulous job. Within 12 weeks, they're up to speed, and they're doing classic middle management jobs that I, on the reverse of that, would probably pay somebody twice as much to do.
Okay.
We should celebrate the fact that businesses are prepared to come to the table and help with this work experience scheme and support them in doing so, rather than vilify them for doing so and accuse them of engaging in modern-day slavery.
But wouldn't we all like this scheme to be rolled out, not just to big business, but to small business as well? Let's get our young people back into work.
Okay. And
isn't bailing out Greece just a measure to delay the inevitable?
the inevitable being, in your view?
Well, that it's all going to go crashing down. That they won't be able to afford to repay any of their debts
and pull out of the euro and all that.
Exactly.
I think it's just a sticking plaster, and I predict that we'll be back here again in 6 months' time, because Greece will fully default. It's inevitable. The real problem here is there's a real human element to it. What's going on in Greece is an absolute disaster. I mean, we've got 50% youth unemployment, a 25% increase in homelessness. Suicides are going through the roof, a 22% cut in the minimum wage. The people are out on the streets, the people are angry. You've had a democratically elected Prime Minister removed by the European Commission, and they put a Eurocrat, an unelected Eurocrat, in his place. It's not on. The people are out. Imagine in this country, for example, if our democratically elected Prime Minister was removed, and heaven forbid, we were given Peter Mandelson or even Neil Kinnock. You would be out on the streets, and unfortunately at the moment, in Greece, I fear when I say this, but I genuinely feel that the cradle of civilization, Greece, is heading towards revolution. But what Greece needs to do is to come out of the Eurozone altogether, leave the euro, go back onto the drachma, devalue, set our own exchange rates, get our exports moving, because if we were good Europeans, that's what we'd want, and that's what we'd do.
The woman in the fourth row there. Yes.
Why does it have to get to this stage when they're almost at rock bottom before we suddenly put our hands up in the air and say, right, we need to step in and need to be doing something? It's the same with anything, isn't it, in this life? We always have to step in when it's almost at breaking point. Why can't we have things in place whereby we can see these layers slowly being eroded so we can then step in before we have this catastrophic event?
Because it was never going to work anyway.
Ed Vasey?
It was impossible.
As I understand it, one of the conditions for the bailout is that they have to lose 150,000 public sector workers within 3 years. That's equivalent to saying goodbye to 800,000 in this country. Imagine what that would do. They have no way out. They're not allowed to borrow from anywhere else. You've got a puppet Prime Minister in Papadopoulos, who is an ex-Prime Vice President of the ECB. Greece was given a golden hello to get into the European Union when they were assessed. They should be given a golden goodbye and eased out to the pain so that they can leave the European Union. This is more about saving the European Union, not saving Greece.
In light of the recent arrests of journalists at The Sun, is it a good idea to launch The Sun on Sunday?
Well, I'll just say good luck to him in that sense, because, quite frankly, there are 1 million less people at the moment buying a newspaper on a Sunday, and I think it's important that people keep up to date with current affairs and buy newspapers. However, as a Liverpudlian and as a survivor of the Hillsborough disaster, I don't buy The Sun 6 days a week, and I certainly won't be buying The Sun on the 7th day of the week either.